All right.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the June meeting. Tonight we're going to have Blakely Ellis for the CCA. If anybody needs to sign up for CCA and sign up for the Star Tournament, now is your opportunity. I haven't had many opportunities to fish here lately, so I don't have any secrets for you guys, but I know the trout bite seems to be pretty good at Dolphin Island here lately. I fished last weekend, Bow River, caught a few flounder, caught a few redfish, nothing extravagant, and nothing had a tag in it, so I know most everybody's been doing some snapper fishing, snapper season's in, but hopefully somebody in this group will be able to catch a tagged redfish with a CCA tag on it. That's pretty promising, and as Blakely will tell you later, there's been one caught, but no details yet, so there's 29 more out there that need to be caught, so we're not out there fishing for them, not going to catch them, so I appreciate everybody coming tonight. Oh, it's too loud. No, it's not. No, sorry.
Or you can pick it up, hold it, or whatever.
Is that a GoPro here?
So without anybody got any questions, comments? Anybody been doing any fishing? Got any reports you want to tell? Mark?
I haven't been doing much. A little bit over on Dolphin Island just for some trout. That's it.
Do you have any 7/6 medium fast rods, spinning rods left?
I don't have anything fast yet.
Yeah.
Nothing built already.
Had a buddy of mine call me a while ago looking for a couple. Told him I said, well, Mark will be here.
Yeah, I don't have anything built right now.
As far as I know, the last person I saw had some nice fish was Brian Colton. They had some pretty good fish. Congratulations. I gave him a hard time because he sent me a picture. I said, you must be with Colton.
He's the one.
So, unfortunately, Colton's not here tonight. Colton was fishing today, so he did have a limit of trout by 8 o'clock. Nice trout. So Brian and be fishing tomorrow. So hopefully he'll post some pictures and get some reports for us.
Don't put pressure on me like that.
Putting all the pressure on us. I have full intentions of fishing Saturday, so hopefully I'll be able to post something. Unfortunately, last Saturday I didn't post any pictures. I was really bad at posting pictures. I post them on the grill, but I don't post them on their live. So. Yeah, have to eat them. So, really welcome Dustin Richardson.
Hello, everybody.
He was one of our first 4 members that we started this chapter with. He's been out of the scene for a couple of years. Reached out to him this week, and glad he could show up. If there was ever a trout whisperer in the group, he's one of them. So
I can't only catch trout right now. Catch all the redfish again.
so
Darn.
yeah, he loads the boat with redfish. Can't get the trout.
Not the summer. I can catch them in the fall and winter, but I can't catch them in the summer. They won't bite my hook. Look.
He's always available to fish, so if you want to reach out to him, he's always ready to go. So he is spectacular fisherman. And I'm really honored that he showed up for the meeting. He's a really close friend, and I respect him a lot. So, good guy and great fisherman. So, with all that being said, I'll introduce Blakely Ellis for the CCA. So, if you haven't signed up for the Star Tournament, he has the paperwork for that to do that tonight. You would need to re-up your subscription for CCA. He can do that as well. Got some nice buckets and stickers and koozies for you guys tonight. So I'll turn it over to Blakely Ellis.
Yeah, I lost mine the first time I took it out of my boat. It flew out of the boat.
Yeah, don't put a float on.
It was somewhere in the north side of Dolphin Island.
Yeah, that can happen, and also they do walk off. So keep an eye on it if you do have one. 'Cause they've been known to walk off boats and docks and backs of trucks.
Yeah, well, mine's where that rope handle.
They don't spare any expense.
Well, so yes, thank y'all for this opportunity to come speak to you guys. I don't remember, did we do it last year? Okay, well, yeah.
Third year.
Okay. So always enjoy these opportunities to share a little bit of what we do at CCA here in Alabama. Promote our Star Tournament, which we're right in the thick of it. It just started a few weeks ago. And really, honestly, the most fun part for me is answering questions. So y'all don't hold back. I'll make sure to leave plenty of time for that. I will say, just right up front, the Star Tournament, I'm going to talk about it. If you don't know about it yet, that's the tournament where we tagged 30 redfish. We released them in Mobile, Hall County the week before Memorial Day. And there's one prize, and the first registered angler who catches one during the tournament, which started a few weeks ago, and it runs through Labor Day, Monday afternoon. The first person that's registered and is a member wins a 2026, might actually be a 27, honestly. It'll probably be a 27 Skeeter SX 221 with a 200 horsepower Yamaha. Really nice Skeeter tandem aluminum trailer. So that's what's at stake, and a little bit of the, to entice you to go ahead and sign up tonight. We're doing a promotion where your membership's $40, the Star Tournament is $40. So for $80, you'll be good for 12 months in your CCA membership. You'll be in the Star Tournament, and you'll get to pick from a white, gray, or tan rope handle CCA bucket, which we're really proud to also have our saltwater license plate on one side of it and our logo on the other, because that license plate is a big part of what allows us to do all the good things that we do in this state, is the funds that come from those license plates. So I say all that to say, if you do want to sign up for the Star Tournament, go ahead and fill out the membership card. That way, at the end of the night, we can process things a lot quicker, and I can just run a credit card easily instead of kind of starting from scratch there. So that's my pre-speech speech. Let's see. Okay, so how many of y'all, I know I recognize plenty of y'all's faces. Are y'all fairly familiar with CCA and what we're kind of about? Well, one of the easiest ways to break it down is we're to saltwater fish what National Wild Turkey Federation is for turkeys, Ducks Unlimited is for ducks. But with one of the biggest distinctions being we are a national organization. So we're based out of Houston. We're one 501c3 nonprofit, but each state by state, we operate with our own staff, our own budgets, our own fundraising, and so all the funds that we raise, we decide how they get used basically within Mobile or Baldwin County. So it's not really hard for me to point to how the money gets directed because it all stays here locally. It doesn't leave the state. So that's something that makes us really unique in that because a lot of the other national hook and bullet groups, like those other ones I mentioned, the way they operate is a lot of national, federal level matching grant programs, and so those dollars may be better used somewhere else in the country. But I can tell you with 100% certainty that all the funds we raise stay here in Alabama, and that's also good because on Alabama issues, Alabama fisheries management issues, that the national office, they defer to us. They don't tell us where we need to be on something. They ask us, where are you on this? And so that gives us some nice flexibility to have good relationships with our state level officials, but also when we need to reach out to our federally elected officials up in DC, and we can get everybody on the same page. Whereas before, you kind of had a lot of people maybe asking for similar things, but we weren't all on the same page, and it's really hard to get anything done on the federal level for fisheries management if you're not at least getting the 5 Gulf states together on the same page. So, but we do fundraisers around the state all throughout the year. We use our license plate, and I'm going to talk about some of the projects that we're well known for and that are exciting and fun to talk about. Here. It was working earlier. I need to get closer to it and reconnect this keyboard real quick.
We get a tubby up.
Do what?
We get tubby up now until they bring something down here. There's somebody pulling down here.
Okay. I may end up just. Can y'all hear me okay? Can y'all hear me okay without the mic?
We can't hear you without the mic
Okay.
now.
All right. So I talked about our license plate a little bit, but one of the unique things is a lot of the other states have license plate programs like this. In Alabama, when they set theirs up and started issuing these, there surprisingly was not a lot of like strings attached to it. Pay an extra $50, that's what any of these custom plates cost, and $42 and some change comes directly to that organization. So same for us, same for the universities, at any other college you see, with the exception if it's an out-of-state like university. If you see the Alabama tags that are LSU, that doesn't go to LSU, it goes to Montgomery. It just gets dumped into the pot. So that's really a really good setup. We get 42 and some change out of about $50, and it's an easy way to not only have a good-looking plate, but also know that you're supporting the work we do here. We are big partners with the Department of Conservation, and lately we've been doing a ton of work at the fish hatchery down in Gulf Shores. They approached us back in 2017. Looking to add a new species, southern flounder, which is going to require some new equipment, which would allow them to attempt to start raising them in captivity. And we agreed to help purchase that equipment for them and donate it. And we do things on a larger scale. We place $50,000 orders for fiberglass tanks from this company in Texas, but they also call us up when they need $2,000 worth of PVC pipe to make all these connections, because to order PVC or anything through the Alabama state bid process is a nightmare. We get ripped off. And so if it's something small and they need it quickly, they reach out to me, and usually I'll get it for the next day or meet them at the store, just pay for it. They're gone, they can do it versus paying double what it costs. So that's kind of a sweet spot where we're able to allow them to. We're pretty flexible and nimble, and we're able to just say, yeah, that works for us, let's do it. We don't do a lot of posting and sharing and making a big deal about it, but they know they can call us when they need something. Same thing goes for enforcement officers. If they need a piece of equipment or something, we're there on the ready. That's a little, so it's a video I shot of that flounder. I don't remember how old that one is, but you can see it's really, really small. I spent way too much time geeking out to these little baby flounder a few years ago. That one, yeah, that's a good too. You can see those little dimples you see, those are the dimples of like a paper towel. That's how small those fish were. And yeah, they start out vertical, and then I can't remember at what point it was, but you know, one of their eyes starts making its way on the other one, and then they start swimming on their side. And
That all happen when they're fingerlings?
yeah, that all happens within any of these small fish you see here are between, you know, I think it might be around 3 weeks that they start going on their side. Before that, they're so small it's hard to get any good, you know, video or images of them. But one of the, you know, really fascinating kind of get into the weeds part that's neat to me is like at hatchery, flounder are a really tough species to try to raise, you know, and try to get them to reproduce. Much harder than, you know, redfish or speckled trout. Those fish, not that they're not special, I love them to death, but they don't have a lot of requirements other than making sure they've got decent water, they're fed, you can mess with the lights, trick them into swallowing multiple times, and you essentially go in the next day and scoop up the fertilized eggs that float to the top and pour them into the incubator, and then they just hatch out and raise up, and you start feeding them. With flounder, you gotta get them acclimated for months and months, and you get one shot per year with them. Male southern flounder, you maybe have 2 to 3 years with them with your brood stock because they don't live longer than about 3 years. So those male fish, you might get one shot with them. So we're always constantly needing to replenish the brood stock, which is why we sponsor a lot of the live weight tournaments to help them collect those fish. But just like night and day compared to speckled trout or redfish. And it started out a little bit rough, but they went all over the country talking to other fish hatcheries, talking to other departments of conservation, other biologists to learn what they learned. Texas and South Carolina and North Carolina were some of the places that had some knowledge of it, but they had not done it really to scale. They kind of figured out what you would need to do and some good process to try to implement. But Alabama was one of the ones to really first get it kicked off and get it going, and all of their fish are raised under roof in the conditioned space, whereas like in Texas, they have, well, Texas is a lot of people in Alabama, but they use ponds to do some of their grow out. All of Alabama's are grown out under roof, and but what? Yeah, it's down at Gulf Shores by the airport. But one of the neat things that I say it's neat, but it's also quite scary as heck for the staff there is if you get everything to go right and you get a spawn, as soon as they hatch, you gotta have a food ready to start feeding those fish, or it's just like a baby in the NICU at the hospital if you didn't have anything ready for them. So you gotta have that, everything go great, but then you also gotta have your grow out of that plankton for that, the right size for that. So if somebody screws up or that you know plankton crashes that you were planning on feeding them, guess what? You lose that whole spawn. And so sometimes it could be just out of their hands like a mistake. Sometimes it could just be somebody, you know, something out of our control. And just like that, there's no going back, there's no reset. Well, there is a reset, but there's no, you know, you don't get to change what happened. So they're not only experts at growing the fish and getting them to spawn, but they got to raise the food for all these different sizes. And one of the things that people usually ask is how do you decide what size to release them at? And for us, for Alabama, it's really purely like an economic situation where, you know, they know how much it costs them to continue to grow them larger. They usually go for about the size of a quarter. That's the target, like release size. And you know, you can keep growing them bigger, but that's you're having them there like in your care, and the clock's ticking every day you got them that you don't release them, something could go wrong. And it costs more money to keep them in there. So that's the sweet spot they've decided they like. They feel confident about being able to get enough out there, but also freeing up capacity at the hatchery to go to the next species and raise the next one. Let's see. And so, well, I'll hit on this real quick. One of the projects that we did a year or two ago was to, y'all recognize the state park pier there. There's a water supply pipe that runs from the state park pier under the state park, under the intercoastal, and comes up at the hatchery there. So that gives them the opportunity to pull in as salty of a water, as you would want. And then with the canal, they can pull in brackish water from there. So with having those two sources like that and having it be on the extreme like that, it gives them the really unique ability to raise any species that they want, regardless of salinity, because they can get it just the right amount. Usually a fish hatchery, the species you raise, it's the first thing that's going to keep you or stop you is what is your water supply and salinity, because if you get it saltier, you can do it, but you're going to just be pouring back the salt, literally to get that salinity right. So they've got that ability to tweak that and get it just right and get raise a number of different species. A lot of them right now they're doing southern flounder and also Florida pompano. They have been doing speckled trout. They stopped the speckled trout portion at the end of last year, and that was due to the data showing that the speckled trout population and the stock assessment didn't really prove out that there was a lot of need for restocking or re-enhancing. So they pulled that back and doubled down on flounder and did 2 spawns of flounder instead of 1. And then that gave them the opportunity to add another species this year that they haven't officially announced yet, but they're going to be trying a new species to raise. And so when it comes time to release the fish, the first...
Go that way. Keep going. There you go.
There we go. The first couple of times they were doing the releases, you can scoop them up in nets and kind of dump them out, but what they do is they just clump up together and they just end up on the bottom of this big wad of baby flounder. You can use a bucket or you can, they also are little flounders. They stick to the sides of the cooler and they don't really cooperate like other fish would. And I didn't ask Max and them if they had learned this or if they had just, put it together and came up with this method to release the fish. But a couple years ago, they started just taking a clear tube and do a siphon and put the boat in gear. And as the boat goes forward, it sucks out a few fish every second and it pops them out, and it works out pretty good. And I couldn't make it to the releases this year, so I asked them to shoot some video, and they did some slow motion video. I think this one was on the western shore, but you can see they picked the location based off what the current water temperature and salinity is to make sure they're setting them up for the best opportunities. But they have really tried to push and get more over on the western side of the bay, because them being based in Gulf Shores, it's not easy to get. It's not easy to get over there, especially you got to get up early in the day to get anything done and get home in time. But this is the video I tried to play last week at the ACFA meeting, but I couldn't get it to work, so y'all are getting to watch it. But it's kind of one of those things that I kind of think is neat. I don't know, it ain't gonna be a feature film or anything, but they before this year they'd always used big igloo coolers to move fish around, and y'all know as well as I do, those aren't exactly like slosh proof and So imagine them going across the bayway with a truck and a trailer full of baby flounder. It's kind of a mess. And they were always kind of jealous of our big eagle coolers that we used when we were moving redfish around for the Star Tournament. And so this year they were like, hey, could we get some of those? And I was like, well, sure, let's do it. So we got with Engel and got them, I think it was 125 quart Engel coolers. So they got a good setup now to get the fish released. Yeah. And
I got a question for you.
yes, sir.
If the salinity goes way down, will they delay releasing the family fine?
So if it goes way down, I doubt it would be such to the extent that they would go somewhere. They may not go where they ideally wanted them to, but unless it were going to be like catastrophic to release them, then they're probably going to go ahead and release them, just because it like I was saying, that clock ticking of the longer you got them in your possession, something might go wrong. So you just got to kind of make the call. But I don't know that they even know if there is a number that those fish wouldn't make it based off salinity. But yeah, I will say that flounder, one of the things that is challenging trying to raise them in captivity is the water temperature, and both the broodstock need really specific temperatures in order to start getting in that spawn mode, and then the hatchlings need a specific temperature, and if that's why we were buying these $4,000 chiller units off Amazon, which I don't know what industry they're made for, but it's not fisheries and hatchery fish, but we got about 6 or 7 of those, because within a couple of degrees of their target number, you can have it where that whole year class would be either all male or all female. So if I can't remember what the number is, and I can't remember which swing it is, but if you don't have the temperature close to this number, you risk all the fish being male or all the fish being female in that class that you're releasing in. So that's another thing that can happen, or something they have to consider. And just to get ahead of some of the comments you see online, which that's such a funny thing to even say, like to try to get ahead of it, but before the state releases any fish, any hatchery fish, they get a sampling of them, they send them up to Auburn, and they run them through the agriculture, like pathology lab, and they test those fish to make sure there's no bad stuff, or there's no genetic problems, or there's no diseases, because that's the last thing we want to do is be trying to do something good and end up making something bad. And to the extent of that level of caution, the target number that the state was comfortable releasing each year was about 125,000 fish. Any more than that, they were worried it might upset the genetics of the wild fish, which you don't want that to be a factor. So when Alabama would have a good year, they hit their target of 125,000 fish, they would call Mississippi and ask them if they wanted these fish, and I don't think they ever turned them down. They send a truck and they'd get the extras, and they'd release them over to Mississippi. But based off some of the more recent data, the state was comfortable with them bumping that number up, because it was a very cautious number, that 125,000 fish. Yeah, yes, and so they greenlit bumping that up, and so this year they did 2 spawns of fish instead of 1, because they had that extra capacity from not doing speckled trout. This year they released a new record, which is close to 260,000 fish this year. So the first successful spawn and release was 2020. So I know we're over probably 500,000 fish over the first 6 or 7 years of the program. So we're really proud of the work that they do over there, and it's a state agency, they're state employees, and they don't they don't get the best, pay rates. They get decent benefits, but they're not doing it because it's the easiest thing or the best, financial plan for themselves. So if you ever see them, be nice to them and thank them and tell them appreciate the work they do and ask them some questions because they love talking. Yes, sir.
Is there any estimation on how many they think survive from the?
So the survival estimates that there's not. They're working on that. That's kind of like now that they got it kind of humming along pretty good. They feel like there's enough fish they can really start to try to tweak their sampling so that they can then try to come up with a number and feel like it might be able to be extrapolated out. But they do that with DNA samples and testing, and so you might see them out collecting more and more flounder clippings so that they can try to get a better idea of that. But so they don't really have an answer to that. But
Are they able to identify what comes out of the hatchery?
so they can based off the genetics of the fish. Sometimes you'll see some of the hatchery fish it just happens in these flatfish in captivity like this, but they don't develop the full pigment, and you'll see them like albino looking or splotchy. And my non-marine biology, non-state, biologist hat, I'm going to say that if you find one of those in the wild, it very well could be one of the hatchery fish that just because, a certain percentage of them, I don't know, 15% or just has that pigment thing going on there, and you see it when they're small, and apparently some grow out of it, and some don't. But oh yeah, those are some of those coolers that I was telling you about. Okay, yeah, so 262,000 fingerlings is how many they released this year. So doing a really good job with that. We're proud of the work that they do. Like I was saying, they got to have somebody on call every day going there, even on the holidays, and the fish have to get fed, and they got to make sure things go on. So they do good work. Let's see, some more flounder pictures.
Wow.
So you see that their orange stomachs. That's some of those planktons that they feed them and eat them. I think they're called rotifers. But you can see how small those are.
Bigger than mine.
It's about the size I usually think.
And they have been really good about sharing their information, what they've learned with some of the other states that are trying to get their programs up off the ground. So some of the other projects that we've been involved in are, a lot of habitat and artificial reef projects. Actually, up until the hatchery kind of phase of our projects, a lot of what we did was based around artificial reefs. So back in the 80s, it was more of kind of the liaison and the kind of team captain of identifying material, finding somebody that would deploy it, getting a good deal on it, working with the state. So our background in our history with artificial reefs, inshore and offshore, goes way back. But once the state received their oil spill funding for artificial reefs, which we did pay for half of the proposal that they submitted to get the money, so we didn't submit it, but we did help cover the cost to put the package together that they submitted, and it was a $42 million proposal for the Restore Fund that they applied for and received the full amount. And as of like 2 years ago, they had used all of the money, and it covers everything from adding material to current reefs, putting new reefs out, really focusing on that middle section, that nearshore reef, and not just it used to be just inshore and like snapper spots offshore. You didn't spend a lot of effort in between there because you didn't want those small fish, or it wasn't important enough to look at. So, but that's the next spot before those fish, they grow up in gray, or then that's their next spot is near shore, and then they eventually make their way offshore. And so the states, put their pedal to the metal with all those reef projects, and we continue to be, well, we're decades ahead of the closest state, which is probably Florida, but we're decades ahead of them, and it's kind of like a ... because in addition to already being like 20 years ahead, we also, because of that knowledge, went ahead and saw the Corps of Engineers and some of the turnaround times on issuing permits and reef zones, and they didn't like the way that was going, and so Alabama said, okay, we're gonna go sonar map and put in an application for basically every square foot of surface or soil down there that we could ever apply for a reef zone. We went ahead and 3D scanned it, the state did, put in an application, and knew exactly what they were going to ask us for. Had it done, I think it was like a $600,000 3D sonar scan to cover every square inch of everything out there, so we could know there were no cultural items that might be disturbed if a reef was placed there. And so that's one of the most exciting parts, is everything's already been approved under those blanket permit zones, so the state can keep it going, whereas you'll see some of the other states like start to hit snags because they can find the material, but they still got to get the Corps of Engineers permit, and that's sometimes can be a challenging thing dealing with federal paperwork.
Are y'all keeping up with keeping the dredge spoils from getting released in Mobile Bay?
So we weren't in the middle of the fight. We weren't, clunking heads with everybody and doing as much as you saw like Mobile Bay Keeper doing. And to be honest, it was something we were kind of adjacent to. Water quality is important, but that was definitely not in our sphere of really knowledge, experience, and when you start throwing around, that groups like that, their bread and butter is, suing polluters to either punish them or prevent them from polluting, and that level of litigation and lawsuits, and most of the time, we probably wouldn't agree with them. In this case, I was glad they pressed as hard as they did, and I was glad to see what the results were so far. Our stance on all of that was, beneficial use, and using that spoil, either putting it offshore or using it for, restoration is what that means. It's not just, pushing it to the side and this and that. So, I don't know if that's enough of an answer for you, but definitely glad to see the progress that was made last year. I hope it continues, and I hope that's not something that really rears its head up again, but it was a big deal. So this reef project was something that back in 2017, we got a call from a company called Forterra Pipe. They made concrete culverts and Jersey barriers and curbs and sewer like big junction boxes and stuff. Well, they were closing down their Mobile storage yard, distribution yard, and they offered all the remaining material to us if we would pay to have it moved. They said, we'll help you load it with our equipment before we shut it down, but if y'all don't want to use it, we're just going to send it to the concrete recycler and no skin off our back. So we worked with them and hired one of the companies they contracted with to move their own pipe, because I had some good advice from one of our board members who said, don't go hire anybody to go moving around concrete pipe, like hire somebody that does it. And so, because the scale of it, those things are massive, and we ended up, we had 4 tractor trailers running 4 or 5 loads a day to get it from Mobile down to the Marine Resources laydown yard over by the hatchery. We ended up needing to rent a big crane from Crane Works to help unload it all, and so we had about $20,000 invested in this material. It's been sitting there since 2017, And because the state had all of that other money to put those roofs out, kind of like we weren't up yet. It didn't make sense to do it. But you know, at some point last year, a family reached out. Somebody from Alabama who had grew up in Alabama had requested to leave some money for an artificial roof, and I said, I think I might have the perfect project. And so we got with Reefmaker, and we ended up deploying 310 tons of this concrete pipe in the CCA reef zone, which is, we did it right at the edge of it. It sits right just close to about the 9 mile mark, kind of south of Little Lagoon area. But it was really cool because yeah, I'll get you the coordinates, but his guys are so quick and so efficient. So this is their new ship that they got about 5 years ago. It's an oil field supply ship, so it's got pretty good, you know, stabilization and what do they call that? Dynamic positioning.
Yeah.
So, but his sonar and stuff gets by, but it didn't like great. And we were on some supporters. They offered up their 60 Hatteras for us to go out with the family to watch the material get deployed. And it just so happens they had the really nice fancy sonar, and so it was neat because we were in 65 feet of water. The permit allowed us, we needed like 25 feet of clearance above the material, but the goal was to stack that pipe up as best we could and get as much height as we could. And so after every like 20 minutes, Reefmaker radioed to us, and he'd move off, and he'd ask us to do a pass to get an accurate depth and see what it looked like. And so we were able to help him with that. And this was just such like a surprise because I was just like, the captain and the deckhand that run the boat, it was no big deal at all them seeing this. And I'm sitting there like, oh, so we're like, that's the pipe. That's the, and they're like, yeah. so we were able to, in real time, see exactly how that material was doing exactly what we wanted, and it stacked up. And so, I mean, an hour and a half into it, they were kind of towards the end of the load, into the last of that material. So it was really cool. It was fun to get back into some artificial reef projects that we've been kind of out of the game for a little bit. But this is a good, for scale, to see how big those pipes are. It was definitely a lot of fun. So not to keep moving along, but I want to make sure I talk about a lot of things. One of the other partners we have is South Alabama and the Stokes School of Marine and Environmental Science. Each year on the low end, it's $25,000. On the high end, this year we did $50,000. Half of that goes towards the CCA SHIP Sport Fish Graduate Student Fund, which whenever I first got hired, I was talking to Dr. Ship one day, asking him how we could best support the work being done, and he said that the graduate students, you know, are constantly like out of money, not having what they need to get the supplies they need, or even to attend conferences to learn how to give their presentations and present on their research, help get their thesis work done, needing, you know, specific equipment, tagging equipment. And he said that the small amount that South has, it gets applied for and distributed very quickly each year, and we don't have nearly enough. And so after that, we started really focusing on making sure that had some funding. And over the years, we've done everything from GPS satellite tags for cobia to acoustically tagging bullred fish to track where they go. But this year we did $25,000 for the graduate student fund and $25,000 for kind of like a pool of funds that they can apply for really it's like a lot of the acoustic tags that they need for different projects. So they've got the opportunity to use those funds and not be tied to only this project or that. If they need to buy some or, you know, want to learn more about Snook, you know, start to get that thing going, they can do that. related species. So the other part of the work we do with South is our Tag Alabama fish tagging program. We started back in 2018. We've got close to 14,000. Yeah, that's old. So we've got like 14,000 fish tagged, and close to like, it's about a 17% recapture rate, I think is what it averages out. So we've got a ton of fish recaptured, a ton of data, and it's something that it continues to pay dividends. And Dr. Powers always tells us he goes to these other conferences all over the world, and his data set and this program, he was like, people are just like foaming at the mouth, and because they like, it's just really hard to get scientists to have access to that kind of data. And so that's where we see ourselves in kind of that middleman kind of road to connect the dots between the research and the anglers. And that's been a really fun program. I mentioned the broodstock collection, fishing tournaments that we always try to support to try to help the hatchery when they do need those broodstock species. And then we made our way to the Star Tournament portion. So talked about the Star Tournament for a second earlier. You know, it's something that we started in 2022. So this is our 5th year. We released 30 fish, and you know, each year we have about, it's like it on a low end, like 7 fish recaptured during the tournament of anglers who weren't registered, so they didn't win the boat. You know, on the high end, you know, 9 or 10. And and each year there's always at least like, there's a couple of like real heartbreaker stories where it's a guy that he already has my number in his phone, and you know, runs this Christ the King tournament, and he was registered in the Star Tournament. He knew about it, and his buddy that was fishing with him, they were fishing down, I'm not gonna say where exactly, but it was, I'll call it Fort Morgan, and his buddy that wasn't registered caught one of the tagged fish, and he was just like really kicking himself in the rear that he didn't make his friend get registered. You know, he did release the fish, and he tried to catch it again like the rules allow, you know, and there's yet to be one where that's happened successfully, but there's you know, you can do that if you want. It's the odds aren't great. It'd be much easier to have had it be a winning fish right out of the bat, but
Have y'all had a winner every year?
no, we haven't. For the first 2 years of the tournament, kind of like, you know, a new business, we were willing to lose some money, and it was a less expensive boat. We started with an Onyx Star, and so the first 2 years, if we didn't have a tournament winning fish caught, we gave the boat away to one of the people who were in the tournament. So if at the end of it, at the end of the summer, the grand prize was still there, we drew a name out of that, and we did that for 2 years. But the Skeeter is a lot more money than a Onyx Star, and we're still really blessed to work with Yamaha, which Yamaha owns Skeeter. But even at getting the motor donated and getting the boat manufacturer to help you out, you know, less the cost, it's still a lot of money. And we only did that boat giveaway part for the first 2 years, and so we've yet to have a angler registered, catch a fish during the tournament, and kind of complete the circle. We're trying really hard and trying to get the word out and release the fish. You know, we release them, and not at like specific docks or places. I'm actually very, very paranoid about where they get released and how we do it. But you'll see some of the other CCA states showing you videos of exactly where you can see landmarks in the background, this and that, and I just like it. But also they have like multiple routes. They have in Texas, I think the first five people that catch one win a Ford truck and a boat motor and trailer package. But they also have 50,000 people fish the tournament. So lot different scale. So for me, if somebody wins the boat, the tournament's kind of over. So we release the majority of the fish we release from a boat, from a vessel, from a boat. and we do it in areas that are, it's not gonna stay where we leave it. Doesn't make any sense, and, but the funny thing is they always end up, they get recaptured and caught at places where people fishing, you know. So like, don't really like overthink it. Just make sure you're registered and fish the places that you would like, you want to fish, or that you think would be good spots, because we kind of spread them out about 15 to the right, 15 to the left. If you kind of drew a line down the bay, trying to think, they're all slot size fish, and we release them up to about a mile or a half mile. It gets really hard in Orange Beach to do it. As like on Mississippi Sound, we stop about 2 miles short of the state line when we release the fish, because one of the rules is it has to be caught in state waters. But it's kind of, you got to get them distributed and spread out. But also, I'm not going to be, if I wanted to, I could go drop the ball, you know, right there, and figure some of them might swim out of bounds and make the odds better. But we stop a couple miles short of Mississippi, and then in Orange Beach it gets a little bit harder. But we kind of sprinkle them all in. And you know, this year the weather's been kind of sloppy, kind of nasty, and usually the recaptures start kind of pouring in. We'll kind of get a couple pop off as the conditions get a little better. We did have, I've got one fish that's been called in, and they're still sorting it out. But what I can say is that he wasn't a member, and he was under 18. So the skeeter wasn't in play, even if a couple other things would have happened. So there's 29 fish still swimming. So we're one short now. One was recaptured, but it's kind of game on. It's if you're going to be on the water, do yourself a favor. Go ahead and make sure you sign up tonight. If other people are fishing with you, just be willing to take that you know, deal with the consequences, because it is not. It's even worse when people know about it. If they don't, you get some people that catch one and they call me, they don't know anything. Like, what is this? Tell me about this or that. You got some people that are call up, they already know, or yeah, I was registered last year. I didn't do it this year. Or those guys are pretty grumpy, and I'm almost certain there's a handful that I never hear from them, because they either are trying to catch it again, they don't want anybody to know where the fish was, or they're just still pretty sore about it, and they just don't want to. They don't want to call it over. But it's something that, you know, it's a lot of fun, and you know, looking forward to getting some more phone calls, and hopefully y'all will sign up. Like I said, we've got those paper card forms that you can go ahead and fill out. That way, at the end of the night, we can just run y'all's cards, and you can grab a bucket, and we'll hold things up. But happy to hang out and answer any questions, or.
Do you guys do any volunteer work? I mean, if we want
If we don't have any volunteer opportunities right now, but it's something I want to have opportunities start to be available. And so when I do, I'll make sure to think of y'all's club and keep y'all in mind.
That'd be great.
Sure, yeah.
That's a question out.
Okay, yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Well, again, I appreciate y'all giving me the chance to speak to you guys, and we're not too hard to find. So if you do have questions after this, maybe you didn't want to ask it in front of everybody, whatever, just reach out to us, and we're happy to help. We're down in Orange Beach, so we're a little bit away from Mobile, and not too far. So.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
The reason I was asking about salinity, one of the most prominent guys in this area at my other fishing club, and he was in Foul River like a month ago. You know, it hadn't rained for like 7 weeks or some shit. And he said the salinity was higher than he'd ever seen it, and he said speckled trout were spawning in Foul River.
Yeah.
He said he'd never seen that, you know, since he's 60-something years old. And you know, when I asked him, I said, well, if it rains, will that kill all those larvae? Do you know?
I don't. I do not know that. Yeah.
Well, hashtag, that from unhashtag,
I mean, yeah, it's probably not good. I mean, that's probably the same as a azalea bush blooming a little bit too early, or so. So I mean, it's probably not good, but sometimes nature surprises you. And, yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, it probably wasn't good, but as much of a diverse like waterway that we have, I think nature set us up to be in a decent spot to have kind of contingencies, or not at all be in one spot or one potential outcome. Yes, sir.
Ever since they dredged the Mobile, that's kept the salt water in here, man. It's here, even after the rain, it's down, but it's here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they did all right across the coal plant, used to be what I call a little island. It's gone. Like they dredged it all out last year. And we got blue crab place there. So that's never happens is freaking fake. You know what I'm saying? So the solidity is going to stay. Now once it gets to the falls, it'll really push up through. Last year there was one called it that Claymore Dam. It's 90 miles away. So,
Yeah.
I don't think it ever will play, in my opinion.
Do what?
I don't think the solidity
The solidity level?
is not here. That's made better, actually, for the inshore fishing.
You're saying it's gonna be super salty for a long time. Is what you're saying? I mean,
That's where I do most, majority of my fishing on the Mobile River. So,
yeah.
that helped a lot. So,
You say you see a lot of crabs up there?
sir,
You see a lot of crabs?
there's already crab in Bayou Sarah, which is straight, it's a, there's crabs in Bayou Sarah right now. So, I was like, this doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's dang amazing, you know? They're there already. So, this year's been weird with weather, man. Like, we usually got the rain early, and
Right.
the river's just now flooding. So
Yeah.
it's weird. But
Yeah.
it's gonna be good, I think. It's gonna be good.
Hey, this is great. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Appreciate it.